You've been deceived. From the moment you learned to speak, you were told to be good, to obey, to play fair, to treat others as you would like to be treated. These weren't just lessons in kindness. They were chains, invisible but binding. And while you smiled in your cage, those without such restraints climbed over you. Have you ever wondered why those who preach virtue rarely hold power? Why the cruel rise while the kind stay crushed beneath the weight of their own conscience? Machiavelli. Did he saw what society hides behind sermons and civility? That morality is not a compass. It's a leash designed to keep the majority docile while the cunning devour the world. The truth is brutal. Morality was invented by the weak to protect themselves from the strong. When the lion roars, the sheep write scriptures. When the wolf tears flesh, the flock prays for peace. But Machiavelli didn't pray, he observed, and what he saw horrified the moralists. He saw that to act morally in a world ruled by predators is not noble. It is suicidal, because morality, in its ideal form, assumes a fair battlefield. But no such battlefield exists. Behind every polite smile is a hidden blade. Behind every law, a loophole. The ones who thrive are those who understand that ethics are optional when no one is watching, and those who dare to cast off the mask of virtue. They don't just survive, they rule. You've spent your life asking, what is the right thing to do? But what if that question itself is a trap? Diversion crafted by those who fear your potential, because if you stopped obeying, you'd start winning. You were not born to kneel, you were trained to. It's time to unlearn everything. What happens when you stop seeking approval and start seeking power? Good intentions are the currency of the powerless. You've been told that having a good heart is enough, that sincerity will shield you, and that authenticity is a form of strength. But let me ask you, how many good people do you see holding the levers of the world? How many kind souls are sitting atop empires? None. Because in the architecture of power, virtue is not a foundation. It is an illusion, painted on prison walls. Machiavelli dismantled this myth with a surgeon's precision. He knew that men are not moved by honesty or purity, but by fear, desire, and calculated deception. The noble heart doesn't lead the army. It bleeds first on the battlefield. Do you still believe that the world rewards goodness? Then you haven't watched the world closely enough. The system you live in feeds on your belief in morality. It teaches you to restrain your instincts, to apologize for your hunger, to offer the other cheek while your enemies sharpen their knives. But Machiavelli warned us. He who clings to virtue when it's not advantageous will be destroyed by those who don't. Power doesn't bend to moral codes. It writes them, and those codes are not written to elevate the righteous. They're crafted to tame the dangerous you. Because if you ever stopped pretending, if you ever truly embraced what you're capable of, you would stop serving and start ruling. The noble heart is a poetic fantasy. It keeps you warm while the world freezes your ambition. It makes you lovable, but never feared. And in this world, it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. So ask yourself, would you rather be remembered for your decency or obeyed for your dominance? Because morality may buy you peace, but only for as long as the wolves are full, and they are always hungry. Do you know why so many cling to morality? Because it's safe. It offers the illusion of order in a chaotic world, a manual for the lost, a lullaby for the frightened. Morality is the sanctuary of the sheep, comforting, predictable, and sterile. But that sanctuary is not a fortress, it's a pen, and you are not protected inside it. You are harvested. The masses love moral codes because they level the playing field, not for fairness, but for containment. If no one breaks the rules, no one rises too far. If no one rises too far, the collective feels safe. But safety is the enemy of greatness. Machiavelli understood this with terrifying clarity. He did not write for the herd. He wrote for the wolf in sheep's clothing, the one who knows how to speak the language of virtue while silently poisoning the chalice. Because those who truly lead do not flaunt their darkness. They hide it behind holy words. Look around. Every institution that preaches virtue does so with blood on its hands. Every leader who promises justice is already bartering with shadows. Morality is their performance, not their compass. And what about you? How many times have you swallowed your instincts just to be accepted? How many masks have you worn to earn approval from those who wouldn't bleed for you? The sheep tell you that playing fair is noble. But Machiavelli whispered a different truth. It is much safer to be feared than loved when one must choose. You were taught to be lovable. But you were born capable of fearsome things. And here's the final cruelty. Those who manipulate morality are rarely punished. It's those who believe in it blindly that are crucified. So, will you keep grazing in the sanctuary? Or will you sharpen your teeth? What if morality isn't about goodness at all, but about performance? Society is a stage, and on that stage the righteous flourish, not because they are pure, but because they know how to act. The appearance of virtue has always been more profitable than virtue itself. Machiavelli didn't trust men who claimed to be good. He watched them too long. He saw the holy priest bribe judges behind the altar. He saw kings who wept for peace, while sharpening their swords in secret. He understood that public virtue is often a smokescreen for private ambition. Do you really think the powerful rise through compassion? No. They rise through calculation, and then they dress their conquests in the language of justice. The crowd cheers, the sheep sleep, and the wolf eats well. The most dangerous men in history weren't monsters. They were saviors. They spoke of unity, progress, morality, while silencing those who threatened their ascent. Because when you wear the mask of righteousness, you can commit atrocities and still be praised for it. That's the genius of moral theater. It gives the predator permission to act under the guise of protection. You were taught to be honest, but look closer. Honesty is punished when it reveals what others refuse to see. You were told to be kind, but kindness becomes weakness the moment it's not reciprocated. And you were taught that the truth matters. But in this world, perception devours truth, and whoever controls the narrative controls reality. So what does Machiavelli offer the awakened? This: control the stage or be crushed by it. Learn to wear the mask, not to believe in it. Learn to speak virtue, not to worship it. Learn to manipulate perception, or be erased by those who do. Because in the theater of righteousness, dim the E. Real script is never seen, and those who write it, they rule the world. What if your conscience is not your ally, but your jailer? From birth, you were injected with guilt. Not because you sinned, but because guilt is the perfect leash. It keeps you small, predictable, harmless. Every time you hesitated to act out of fear of doing wrong, someone else acted without hesitation and took what could have been yours. Machiavelli saw this flaw in man, this obsession with moral purity, and he laughed, because the conscience is not divine. It is a social construct shaped by those in power to ensure compliance. Do you think your inner voice is sacred? It was programmed. Shame was embedded into your psyche so you would self-police, so you would fear your own instincts, so that even when no one is watching, you still obey. That is not virtue, that is submission. And who benefits from your self-censorship? The bold, the unrepentant, the ruthless. While you second-guess, they strike. While you sleep, they conquer. They are not burdened by conscience. They weaponize yours. The most effective tyrannies are not enforced by soldiers, but by the prisoners' own belief that they deserve the cage, that their suffering is noble, that silence is strength, that suppression is sainthood. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in rejecting morality. It was in understanding its utility. He saw that conscience can be wielded like a dagger or discarded like a broken tool, and that those who rise to power learn to twist it in others while severing it in themselves. So here's the question: is your conscience your soul or your chain? Because until you answer that, you are not free, you are managed. Control doesn't begin with chains, it begins with stories. Before a tyrant takes your land, he takes your language. Before he breaks your body, he breaks your mind. And the most efficient way to do that is to convince you that obedience is holy, that submission is virtue, that silence is peace. Machiavelli understood what most fear to admit. Power is not maintained through force. It is maintained through belief. A man who believes he is free will fight no one. He will police himself, shame himself, betray himself. In the name of ideals he never questioned, and the state smiles. Control isn't the guard with the gun. It's the citizen who reports his neighbor. It's the teacher who mocks dangerous questions. It's the parent who tells you to stop dreaming so big. That is how authority embeds itself. Through ordinary voices, through trusted faces, through moral concerns. But make no mistake, the goal is always the same. To contain the unpredictable, to sterilize the dangerous, to turn lions into livestock. Why? Because unpredictability is the death of order. And those in power fear chaos more than they fear rebellion. Machiavelli knew this, and so do your rulers. That's why they feed you sanitized truths. That's why they flood you with entertainment, distractions, rules, rituals, and rewards for compliance. Because the moment you question the story, the whole structure trembles. And you've felt that tremble, haven't you? That moment when something doesn't add up. When your gut screams that the rules weren't made for your protection, but for your paralysis. That moment is not madness. It is awakening. So here's the truth. If you want to be free, you must become dangerous again. Not reckless. Dangerous. You must reclaim the parts of yourself that society buried beneath praise and punishment. Because only the dangerous can't be controlled. Freedom terrifies the domesticated. You speak of liberty, but deep down most prefer chains. As long as they're padded in comfort and coated in praise. Because with freedom comes responsibility, danger, and the horrifying burden of self-determination. Most would rather be ruled, so long as they are fed. Machiavelli saw through this charade. He understood that people cry out for justice, but what they really want is security. They scream for truth, but they crave the lie that keeps them warm. He knew the masses would sell their souls for peace, even if that peace was a prison. This is why tyrants don't need to conquer. They only need to seduce, offer comfort, offer protection, offer certainty, and soon the people will hand over their autonomy like a child giving up a toy it never understood. They will mistake submission for safety and obedience for order, and then they will thank their captors. The greatest trick of power is not domination, it is devotion. The trick is to make the slave believe he chose his chains, that his servitude is noble, that his silence is wise, that his compliance makes him virtuous. But tell me this, if your values were taught to you by those who profit from your obedience, are they truly yours, or are they weapons designed to keep you soft, compliant, and blind? Machiavelli never advocated cruelty for its own sake. He advocated clarity. He urged us to see the world not as we wish it to be, but as it is. And in that vision, morality becomes a tool, not a master. So ask yourself, what have you surrendered? In the name of peace? What part of you still burns beneath the mask of the civilized self, because the price of comfort is your crown, and you were not born to kneel? You were taught that predators are evil, but only because you were meant to be. Pray. Every story, every parable, every bedtime lesson was designed to terrify you into docility. Wolves are always villains. Lions are always tamed. The hero wins by being good. But look around. Is that how the world works? No. In reality, it is the cunning who ascend, the bold who break through, and the predator, the one unafraid, to act without permission, who shapes the future. Machiavelli stripped away the illusions. He showed us that the world does not reward virtue unless it serves power. That morality, when divorced from strategy, becomes suicide. He saw that to lead, one must sometimes deceive, manipulate, betray, not out of malice, but out of necessity. Because the battlefield of life is not fair. It is rigged, chaotic, merciless, and pretending otherwise is a luxury only fools can afford. Still think you're not a predator? What about the time you silenced your instincts to keep the peace? What about the moment you watched someone lie their way to the top while you held onto your honor and lost everything? You felt the hunger. You just buried it. But Machiavelli's truth remains. Those who dare to awaken their instincts, to wield fear instead of being ruled by it, are the ones who survive when the mask of civilization cracks, and crack it will. When order collapses, and it always does, the predators don't panic. They rise. The question isn't whether you're a good person. The question is, can you become dangerous without losing yourself? Can you be both shadow and sword? Because if not, someone else will be, and you'll serve them. You were told that lies are evil, that honesty is sacred, that truth is the highest virtue. But let me ask you, who taught you that? The powerful lie every day. Not because they are corrupt, but because they understand something you were never meant to know. Truth is not sacred, it is strategic. And in a world of predators, deception isn't sin, it's survival. Machiavelli didn't just tolerate lies, he refined them into an art form. He believed a leader must know how to disguise his intentions, to wear the mask of virtue while pursuing ruthless ends. Not because cruelty is ideal, but because naivety is fatal. You still think honesty will save you. It won't. It will make you predictable, vulnerable, easy to manipulate. Because once your thoughts are visible, they can be controlled. And those who control the flow of information control the battlefield. This is the paradox. Those who cling to truth are often crushed by those who master illusion. Machiavelli saw that appearance matters more than essence. People judge not your soul, but your shadow. They see what you project and not what you are. And if you don't shape that projection, someone else will. So what's the answer? Don't abandon truth. Weaponize it. Learn when to reveal it, when to distort it, when to bury it in silence. Speak what must be said, and conceal what must be protected, because the greatest power is not in being known, but in being unreadable. You were taught to be transparent, but Machiavelli teaches you to be a mirror, reflecting only what others expect to see, while hiding your depth beneath the surface. Because in the game of power, the invisible hand always moves the visible pieces, and if you remain visible, you're already someone's pawn. Everything they told you was designed to keep you obedient. You were sculpted by guilt, silenced by shame, softened by false promises of moral glory. They told you that forgiveness is holy, that humility is strength, that surrender is noble. But look at what it created, a world ruled by predators and populated by the pacified. Machiavelli never wrote for the forgiven. He wrote for the outcast, the cunning, the unrepentant soul who refuses to beg for approval. Because there is a moment, brutal, beautiful, when the illusion breaks. When you realize that the moral game is rigged, that virtue was a cage, and that all along you were more than what they allowed you to be. That moment is your rebirth. But rebirth is not gentle. It demands that you bury the version of yourself that bowed to fear, that you kill the coward who prayed for permission, that you rise not with tears in your eyes, but with fire in your blood. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to conform. You are not here to play a game designed to keep you small. You are here to dominate the narrative, to rewrite the rules, to resurrect the dangerous self they tried to erase. Machiavelli's final gift is not a path to power. It is the realization that the path was always yours to claim. That morality can be useful but never worshipped. That virtue must serve strategy, not sabotage it. And that power belongs not to the pure, but to the prepared. So now the question isn't whether you can awaken. The question is, will you dare to rule after the world tried to tame you? Because the age of being good is over, and the age of being free begins now.